Yo ho, all hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Bad and Mean podcast for 2026. I'm your host, Dylan, and today I'm with Declan, our co host. How are we doing today, Declan?
Good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. So, I'd like to go through a quick
Good.
introduction to the podcast for everyone and what content we're going to be making and continuing from NRL Rookie Watch. So, a lot of you might be thinking, well, we're changing the name, purely sort of a content development reason. I feel like changing it to a more Raiders centric podcast, I'm going to be able to smash out content more regularly every week. And then having someone like Declan, who's also a Raiders fan like me, we'll be able to have a lengthy discussions for this season. And we'll still be continuing. I feel like I might do a few rookie highlights here and there, like I used to. But I feel like this would be a bit more fun and a bit more interactive on YouTube and on Instagram. So yeah, very exciting. So, would you like to introduce yourself? Like, how long have you been a Raiders fan for, and like, what's your experience been? Throughout?
Yeah, my name is Declan, obviously, as talked about before. Straight out of the womb, I was a Raiders supporter, bled green, and I've always bled green. Always go to the games at GIO every week with family, with Big Dill over here as well. So, I'm very excited about this season. Last season was very exciting future for the Raiders. But yeah, heartbreak, obviously, but we'll go into it further later.
Yeah, well spoken, well spoken. Yeah, I think there's a certain feeling about being a Raiders fan growing up in Canberra. Like, I know a lot of people, they just can't stand the Raiders, but they've always been the underdog. Like, especially in the last 20 years, where they haven't performed, as well. Like, they haven't won a premiership in, over 30
30 odd years.
years. And I think always being the underdog, and the feeling of getting that win over, say, a Roosters or the Storm, especially in recent years, is always a memorable experience. And yeah, the last year, definitely one of the more fun years to watch the Raiders play. I'm sure you're much the same. And yeah, they're a very interesting team to watch going into this year for sure.
Most definitely.
So, I thought we'd start off with looking at a few of the rule changes the NRL's made for this year. There's been a few which have been tossed up and confirmed. One of the main ones was the 6 again rule outside the 20 metres of the attacking side. So it used to be outside 40, and then it might have even been outside 60. But they've cut it back, which really does speed up the game. Disregards having penalties inside your own half, which isn't too bad, but it really puts the defensive side on the back foot. If the attacking side's getting 2 or 3 in a row, it definitely means those fitter sides would have that advantage with that fast play of the balls and just catching markers offside over and over again. So, what are your thoughts on this rule? Do you reckon it was warranted? Do you reckon like the 6 again needs to progress over time?
Look, it doesn't really. It doesn't really bother me a whole heap, but yeah, look, the 6 again has always been very controversial, right? Over the past couple of years. Outside 60, outside 40, was it you were saying?
Yeah.
So now it's outside 20, so they obviously can't make up their minds. But I think they're trying to progress into like the speed of the game. 100% it's got to do with the speed of the game. They want the game to be faster. They want the game to be more enjoyable for people either sitting at home or watching at the game. I think to make it faster is obviously what they're going for. But look, a whole heap of it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, tied forward packs. You can't really. It really does change the idea of a big forward pack, though. Like
100%.
you have to be more mobile in modern day. You cannot be this huge forward who gets
No.
gassed pretty quickly because you're just going to leave holes through the middle. You have to have a mobile forward pack moving forward. It's just that's the new rules. That's modern rugby league for you now. And yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dill?
Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, I think if they're going on this trajectory, big forwards in our game will become extinct. Like they just can't keep up with the speed of the game. Something like Adam Fanua-Blake was saying, how if they're going on this rate, just faster play. Obviously, it's an entertainment value, product. So it might be better to watch, easy flowing game, which I can understand.
I actually don't mind it. I feel like the pace of the game, obviously, going forward is going to be more exciting to watch. There's less stoppages, which is always nice. A free-flowing game of football is what the fans are there to see, and I think that's what we're going to get this year. And I'm actually looking forward to this rule. So, not a bad rule. And I know they keep chopping and changing it, but I think this one should be here to stay for a while. But depending on how it goes throughout the season, we'll see.
Yeah.
But obviously, mobile forward pack is the main thing to take away from this one. You can't really have big forwards sitting out in the field for too long because they'll just get absolutely obliterated. So, yeah.
No, that's fair enough. I sort of understand as well. The other one which didn't go ahead was the kickoff rule, meaning that the team that concedes a try can decide whether they want to kick off or not. I think this honestly would have just given the shit teams who can't defend a bit of leadway and allowing them not to defend again. Because obviously, look, if you concede a try, are you going to kick off or
Or
receive?
attack.
Like,
Yeah.
you're going to want to receive
So
straight away.
100%.
Yeah. And I know some people are saying, oh, sides like Penrith, they'd love to defend. They'd love to, grind down, then they get the ball back at halfway. I'm like, fair enough, but that's in the minority there. Like, yeah, I'm happy it didn't go ahead.
I get where you kind of see where the NRL are going though. Like if you're 20-0 lead up, you can see if you're continuously conceding, there's never gonna be blowout leads. Like
No,
there's never
it reduced
any.
blowouts.
Yeah, it will reduce blowouts, but I feel like it's more exciting to see blowout scores. I know, obviously, as being a Raiders score, we've had many blowout scores against us. Okay, that rule would favour us tremendously. But look, I think it was probably the most dumbest rule the NRL have ever come up with. So it's like OzTag rules, right? It makes no sense in the game. There's just no need for it. It's just stupidity, I thought.
Yeah,
And I don't
that's
think
what I
anyone else was really happy. There's just obviously a couple of.
I think that
Yeah.
was good that they didn't allow it because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of coaches that weren't a fan of it. I think Wayne Bennett was like all for it, but Ricky didn't
Course.
seem too keen. And I think the biggest rule, which I was sort of surprised about, is the addition of the six-man bench, which allows you to choose up to 6 players, but only 4 to interchange around between the bench, which makes sense, in the light of the concussion subs and the amount of injuries teams have in games. You used to have to wait for foul play, or if you lost, enough players to be able to use an 18th man. But I think the value of having like a utility back as your 18th or 19th man come on the field later in the game, or if you have an injury, is just so valuable. I think you can imagine even State of Origin. You have an exciting player come onto the field. I think it was a really, really good idea.
Yeah, I really like this change as well, Dill. We saw it in the World Club Challenge where Kobe Hetherington got knocked out in the first 20 minutes of the game, and obviously I think that rule is going to be actually huge this season, especially for the Raiders. We got so many outside backs that are coming through the ranks. Kobe Black is one of them. He's going to be a very exciting halfback. He could be on the bench. 100% he could be on the bench. He could be in that 6-man bench squad, and Ricky Stewart will probably, like, you know what, if a half goes down, he'll be there. Dane Laurie is another one though, who will most likely be on that 6-man bench, and some other exciting outside backs like Mark Tuoliti or anyone really, Michael Asamoah. There's heaps of players that you can put in there. You could even put a third hooker in, but I don't think we'll do that. No, the 6-man bench is really exciting, especially for the Raiders. I think we've got so many really exciting young players coming through the ranks.
Yeah, 100%.
I really like this change from the NRL. I think it really offers them to play their younger kids, and I think concussion can happen at any stage of the game, and multiple players can be out. Remember that Broncos game against the Storm where Ezra Mem and Adam Reynolds went down in the same play from hamstrings? It's just huge to have that extra two people that are on the bench to put on the game anytime.
Oh, it's so beneficial. Yeah,
back in.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a massive headache as like a reserve grade coach though. Like you might have a couple
Oh
of
yeah,
players there, and they may not even get any game time. So I think the key to this is swapping it around. You can't have the same players as those positions every week. Otherwise, you're not going to get any game time. So it'd be interesting to see how teams use it, whether they do use it or not. Because players are going to miss out. But I mean that's all a part of it. I think it's a really good concept that the NRL has added.
I really like it.
And then in regards to Origin eligibility rules, that's a big one for sure. And what it means for Polynesian, New Zealand players who have had that struggles having a dual heritage, being able to play for New South Wales or Queensland, and then for their nation, for them to be so ideal and so suitable. Absolutely. Because it's tough. It's tough to choose. And that goes back to the whole tier list for all the countries. So beforehand, it used to be like Australia, New Zealand, England, as all tier one. But you have a look at the growth of Samoa and Tonga over the past 10 years. They are now equal to Australia and New Zealand. Like they can compete on the same level. Now they've scrapped the tier rule absolutely now, which is interesting. In a way, like I don't think all of the rugby league countries are on the same level at all. It sort of lets say there'd be less international games throughout the year if Kiwis are going to be playing State of Origin. Because if a lot of Kiwis are playing State of Origin through that mid part of the year, there's going to be no mid-year test, which I think is a big shame. But that's sort of where international rugby league is at the moment, where they're not investing a lot of money into games throughout the year, other than like the World Cup per se.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty touchy topic though. Like,
100%. Well, look, you got like players like Jerome Hughes coming out in that 167 podcast that they have. He said he definitely won't be playing for Queensland in the near future. He says he's so against it. His passion doesn't lie there, and I feel like most of these players that can play in for New South Wales or Queensland won't get picked. Like I think the only two that really can get picked, both for New South Wales and Queensland, Nickera, I think 100% he could be picked.
Yeah.
He is dynamite.
That's right.
And Adam Fanua-Blake, obviously. But the thing is with me is, do coaches pick these players because they're good or because they're passionate? I feel like if they're passionate to represent the badge, then they go,
yeah. Just doing it for the pay grab, the pay slip.
Exactly right.
It's
hard to.
Yeah, problem is I think Origin is viewed as the pinnacle of rugby league. Like it's nearly seen as above international in a sense. Like
it is
everybody
above.
watches it regardless of where you're from. So I think the idea of players playing State of Origin, I think you can still get the passion from there, but it is quite tough because New South Wales and Queensland are in Australia. So you can really argue, look, if you're passionate for New South Wales, you're passionate for Australia. And then where it's a bit interesting because then, are those players taking other players' opportunities for wanting to play for their country a chance of playing State of Origin? Like,
Yeah.
and then you might look in 10 years' time, the Australian side might be made up of players who don't play State of Origin. It used to be very
Mm.
much like a selection trial. Origin used to be a selection trial for the Kangaroos. And yeah, it may devalue the Australian jersey in a way.
100%
Going
it
into the
will.
future, but you have a
But
look at a
that's
player
good.
like Victor Radley a few years ago.
Yep.
He was on the edge of Origin selection, and look, let's be honest. He thought, look, I'm not gonna be able to make the New South Wales squad, and I think his dad's got. I think his dad's born in England, so he obviously had a bit of a connection there. But he was like, look, I'm not gonna make the blue squad. I'm gonna pledge my allegiance to England, which is gonna be a first runner in the starting squad there. So he's not gonna try as hard to get into the England squad than he would New South Wales and Australia. Same thing with AJ Brimson. He
100%.
wasn't going to crack the Queensland team, so he
Yep.
pledges allegiance to England. Now, no, you look back now with this rule, they can then play for their respective state. They're Aussies, obviously, but I don't think you can have players swapping and changing their allegiances all the time. Like if they don't make the Australian side, then they go, "Oh, don't worry, yeah, I'll go play for Samoa," where they know they're going to get picked. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, the competition elements in there are quite vague. Like,
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. Like, I feel like Australia will obviously be cut down as a team, most definitely. I feel like the badge doesn't mean as much for Australia as it does for these players wanting to play for other countries that their parents are born at or their grandparents are born at, and that's probably the sad reality of it. That Australia is probably going to really struggle to find. Obviously, there's plenty of decent players for the Australian Kangaroos that you can
they
choose
won't
from.
struggle
Millions.
at all. They have the
Yeah,
biggest
exactly
depth
right.
of any
But
players
talking
of any
about
team.
Payne Haas leaving to Samoa, like Kalen Ponga's now going to go to probably New Zealand. It's just like you're losing these fantastic players, but it does kind of grow international rugby league at a
It does,
point,
yeah.
which is also a positive. And I think that's what the NRL are trying to do. Like they're trying to build the international
Yeah.
force and trying to, I don't know, what's the word? Trying to cut Australia Kangaroos. Like they've been so good for so long. Let's try and cut them down a bit and share these players around.
Yeah, well, that's right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. Like, with the whole tier situation, like they couldn't have said to all the Samoan players or Tongan players who play State of Origin, "Hey, you have to pick one or the other," because, like I said, you have to do something with the tier list. It's not fair for New Zealand. Um, if they're losing players to play State of Origin, right? It's not fair. So you had to uplift Samoa and Tonga. But you couldn't have kicked them out of State of Origin at the moment. Like To'o, you know, Payne
Luai.
Haas, all these players, the White, like fantastic.
Mm.
Stephen Crichton,
Mhm.
so passionate for their country. So
Mhm.
having a bit of balance there, I understand is appropriate. But I still think there needs to be some strict criteria in
Yeah, definitely.
regards to, so they can't change their allegiances. But
Yeah, agree.
yeah, I mean, look at Kyle Weeks for the Raiders. He can play for New Zealand. I think that's one part of his family. And then he can play in New South Wales. Like he grew up in Australia, so maybe this might be totally different. Maybe he wants to play for Australia because he identifies as an Australian and has that connection. So that you can't talk on his behalf. It's the same as Seb Chris,
Ethan
Queensland
Strange.
and New Zealand. Ethan Strange has got a few heritage eligibilities as
Mm.
well. So that's great. I mean, for Raiders,
Yeah.
just having more players be able to play on the international stage, I think is fantastic.
Mhm. All right. After looking upon the rule changes for 2026 season, we're now going to look at the Raiders trial matches And the last 2 weeks, Raiders took on the Storm at Goulburn Seaford Oval, not Goulburn, Queanbeyan Seaford Oval, and they also versed the Sharks at its Central Coast. Now, big deal. Looked real good that first trial with our youngies, didn't we? Mark Tuali'i was absolutely on fire, along with Jalen Afamasanga, as we discussed on our Instagram post as well. Dill did a little deep dive into Jalen Afamasanga's attack, and you should go check that one out. But look, our defense was freaking unreal, I got to say, in the first stages of the game. Like, held them out for that whole first half. It was 10-0. That second half, I thought we were even better. Obviously, we let in a couple cheap tries towards the end, but we were already winning. Our attack with the young kids, sorry, just the one try. The attack with the young kids looked fantastic. Our edges looked real good. Our outside backs looked really promising, along with our front rowers still. What do you think of this trial?
Yeah, good. I think it was a really good sign. Looking into our, junior development, there were a lot of people saying, I think Rugby League Guru came out and was saying, oh, the Raiders had a lot more experienced lineup. Like, I highly disagree with that. Like, I think Dane Laurie, he's not a halfback, but he really showed his class and versatility, I think, in this game. And, sort of chopped and changed between positions. But, no, I think, even his performance in the Sharks game, I think will show, what value he's going to add to the Raiders going into this year. And I think one of the other elements I was really impressed from in this game was a young forward pack. Like, they were up against David Moale, Jack Hetherington, and Trent Loiero, like, all pretty well regular first graders. And we had Patuki Case, Sam Hine, and Joe Roddy, all, New South Wales Cup players. I think so Sam Hine has come through the ranks.
Roddy.
He played SG ball last year, and he represented Queensland at under 19s level. And like, he ran for 127 meters, and then his partner Patuka Case was 137. So for young guys, really one of their first hitouts against like men, you could literally say. I think Patuka Case has played plenty of New South Wales Cup, but for Sam Hine, I thought he had a real crack, and that shows our roster of young forwards coming through is really strong. I thought, like I said, I think Alpha Masanga's second half stint was fantastic. I think he's one of the main highlights coming out of this game. Just his ability to square up the defensive line and just knowing when to pass and who to pass to. That was fantastic. And I think he's very much a 5'8". We saw Ethan Alea there, sort of in the halfback role. But I think he's probably better off to fullback, where he's more elusive, and he doesn't have to worry too much about his defense. But I think the second half they absolutely killed it. I think their attacking shape was really coming together real well.
Yeah. I was a bit scared about our front rowers this season, like who we've got for the next couple of years. Like with Papali'i retiring, Trey Mooney leaving. I was a bit scared to say, look, who's going to be that front rower that's going to be our next Papa? There's never going to be one, right? But who's going to be the one to like step up for the Raiders in the next couple of years? And I thought that first trial, I was like, wow, we've got some real good young front rowers coming through the ranks, and really excited to see how they go in New South Wales Cup this season. But most likely and most definitely we'll get a crack throughout the season as well. I thought we looked really good. I'm really excited to see how Joe Roddy goes. Look, I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. I dead set think he is one that we need to keep around the club, because I reckon he's going to be fantastic the next day. He gives me Hudson Young vibes, but he's also he's got real, but his ball work is, I think, the thing that is so surprising about him. He's sort of offers that lock forward ball work, sort of like, it's not quite Isaiah Yeo, but it just gives me hints of Isaiah Yeo, if you know what I'm talking about. He's just, his ball work is fantastic, which I hope he keeps on, he keeps doing that throughout the season. I hope we get to see more of him throughout this season. But most definitely.
I
Love
reckon
to see
we'll
how he
talk
goes.
about this later, but I think he could be a smoky for the 18th, 19th spot throughout the year. I think Ricky's
I agree.
transitioning him into a middle now by the looks of it. Like you said, is that Hudson Young game mobile type mold, which, as we talk about the 6 again rule, is more suitable in the modern day game. So yeah, I thought he had a fair crack the first trial and even the second trial. Um, who we got here? Yeah, I mean Seb Chris is the other one. He basically looked like prime Mal Meninga out there, against like
That actually
he
fit.
was great. He was fantastic.
He was.
But hard to sort of assess based on the quality of opposition. But I thought he had a red hot crack for his hit out this year, which is great to see. Owen
What about
Paddy.
Big Chevy?
Chevy, yeah, I think by the sounds of it and looks of it, he's bulked up a fair bit, and I mean, hard to say with a trial match. Yeah, it's interesting his playing style. Like I always thought he was that sort of Tedesco mold, but it really depends on how many touches of the ball he has. I think got a very high work rate. He saved a couple of tries in the 2 trial matches. Um, but I definitely think that he looks more used to the contact this time round. And it's not like he did anything that flash in attack.
No.
But I
His
think
defense, though, for real.
his defense, and I think he's looking more, no, I wouldn't say NRL ready, but I think he is more than capable. If he
Mm.
got a call up, he'd be able to handle it just well enough. And did you see too on social media? He's been training in the centres. I think second trial he played a bit of centre.
I have heard about that. Yeah,
Like, what are your
I've
thoughts
heard
on that?
they've been
Like,
testing him everywhere.
yeah,
Oh, look, I don't mind it. I feel like look, Chevy. We always thought that he would be a first grader when he first made his debut against the Titans.
yeah,
Just by his work effort was fantastic, and you could see he wears his heart on his sleeve. Like he will try no matter what happens. And I think that's what we want to see more of. And I feel like Chevy in the centers, yeah, look, it could work. You don't really know until you see a couple games where he's in there. And I think now that Ethan Layer has come through the ranks, I think we will see more of him at center in the New South Wales Cup. And I think Alea will be starting fullback. Only problem is I don't know who goes if Weeks goes down. Look, we'll get into that later with our depth chart. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see how Chevy goes this season. I think look, he needs a real breakout. I know this sounds strange, but New South Wales Cup season, I think he needs a big New South Wales Cup season in order to stay at this club. He was rumoured to go over to the Dragons and the Sharks throughout
yeah,
last season.
yeah,
Which look, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. I feel like there's too many good fullbacks in front of him. There's too many good outside backs in front of him in general. But no, he looks a lot bigger. He looks like he's really, really worked hard throughout this off season. I'm actually really keen to see how he goes.
mm,
Love Chevy. No, it'd be interesting to see how he goes throughout the
yeah.
season.
In a really unlucky situation, really. Like he's
100%.
been sort of touted as the long-term fullback for the club, and then you had Kyle Weeks come along. You know, originally signed as a 5'8",
Yeah.
and he takes over the spot. But that's just competition for spots. He's going to push him to
Uh-huh.
play better, and that's what he's going to
Exactly.
have to do. Like I'll be shocked if he's at the Raiders next year. And I think for his
Same.
career, the only way he's going to grow is by playing first grade. Unless he absolutely kills the New South Wales Cup. Like it's the same thing with Trey Mooney. Same story. You can't play reserve grade forever, and we know he's way better than that. And he couldn't break through the Raiders,
That's crazy.
front row, into the front row side. So, I was impressed with him, in both trials.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Yeah, Mark Tuali, another quick shout out, like you mentioned. I think he looks like an absolute tackle breaker, supreme. Like he looks like really strong at center, which is
Mm.
good. I think he'll get a good go in New South Wales Cup this year. Michael Asamoah and Tamale, further bolstering our outside backs. Looking really
Mhm.
tough, coming out of yardage. Tamale
Oh,
played
Tamale
center
looks
in the
so good.
first game, which shows his versatility. I think he can play anywhere in the back five. And
Yep.
he was great. Aston Villa probably a little further down the pecking order now that we signed Finau.
Mhm.
But I still rate him very highly. I think
So do I.
he should get. I think he's a bit unlucky. He should be playing more games than he is at the moment.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, which is just unlucky. What are your thoughts on like the hooker situation? So we had a look at Paddy in the first trial. We've seen Brayley start in the second. What are your thoughts on how that's looking at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Ricky's got a real headache on him. I think this is the problem for the season. I think is that choosing the right hooker and backup hooker could be a red flag, as they call it, for us, because I feel like we've got so many options in that position that it's like, how do we know who's going to fit that position the best? I think Paddy looked fantastic last year. Came on to the field, played about 10, 15 minutes, did his job completely. I really hope, and I really hope they don't drop Starling. I think Starling was
They could not.
one of the best
Yeah,
one
they
of the
could not
best number nines in the
possibly. They
competition
could not
last year.
possibly drop Starling like
No
that.
way. It would. It would shock me if they did. I think Starling's was fantastic last season, and look, I think Paddy actually looked like Starling was really relieved when Paddy came on. You know, I think Starling is able to lay back and play his game without doing too much with the ball. You know, I think Paddy when he comes on, look, different team. We look like a different team with on Paddy on.
Yeah,
Like there's more combinations
yeah, yeah. I think look, in
and
regards to the
yeah.
first two trials, like you can clearly see that Paddy's, you know, playing for a position in the team. You can see how he's trying.
Yeah.
And he had a few loose passes here, but you can see he's having a decent crack. I think, he's looks super eager out of dummy half. I feel like he can tend to overplay his hand sometimes. He doesn't
I
always
was
need
gonna
to
say that.
go.
Yeah.
You can just the hook. Dummy half's the type of type of role where you don't have to set up a try every play per se. You can, all you need to do is get your forwards on the front foot, which I think is what Jaden Brelly does very well. I think he's very good at getting out of dummy half and getting the forwards rolling, quick play the balls.
Mhm.
Starling's best asset is his line speed in attack for sure. Like, he's not the most creative hooker, and then his running game's obviously good. That's why he was so good coming off the bench. But I think you've got to have him there. And then Paddy's kind of the best of the bunch. I think he's obviously got the most potential. He's got his kicking game is superb. I just sort of think that Paddy's is still growing into the Raiders' attacking style. I wouldn't say he's not. It's not that I'm saying he's not a team player, but as far as combinations go, I feel like he's sort of an individual player in a sense. That doesn't belong to a system per se. So that's something he's definitely got to get used to. But I think the potential's there. So the question is, like, do you think that Paddy would benefit from playing New South Wales Cup at the start of the year? To
Yes.
get some minutes. Like,
I think 100%. Yes.
if he's
Yes.
playing 20 minutes off the bench every week, what impact is he really having to our side? Like, we've seen in times like the Penrith game, the Roosters game, the South game, I think the Eels game. Like, he, nearly won us the game in a handful of times.
They did.
But is that the best for his development? Like, I don't know.
I don't know how Ricky wants to develop him. If he wants to develop him as like a full-time hooker, or if he's better as a part-time hooker coming off the bench. I have no idea. I don't know how they're going to go about it this season. And I think that's our only real worry for our number 9 is that Starling's obviously he's going to be there for a little while longer. Jaden Brayley is such a handy player to have off the bench. I think that he provides so much more NRL experience,
Yeah.
and I think he could be really exciting coming on the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the game. I love Paddy. Paddy is hands down so exciting to watch when he comes on. He is so exciting, right? I'm just not sure that he can do another season playing how he's played last season. Fantastic last season. I just think he needs more minutes under his belt. That's all. I think he needs to develop as a full-time hooker, sort of like Harry Grant. He gives us Harry Grant vibes for the Raiders.
fair enough.
I don't want him to be a part-time hooker. I want a hooker that can be there long-lasting, can play 80 minutes, is just solid throughout the middle. I know that's probably not going to happen with how the Raiders like to do part-time hookers. Anyway,
I think
I think Jaden Bradley is our number 14 for next season. For this season, I think you put Paddy in New South Wales Cup. Just let him benefit off the minutes and let him play longer minutes. Get his work rate up and his endurance. I think needs to be there. But I think also New South Wales Cup, he won't force to overplay his hand. All he needs to get fitness is definitely number one. Obviously, fitness of a player as a part-time hooker needs to be number one. He needs to learn how to play his hand correctly. Most of the times we did see it happen in the Storm trial matches. Sometimes he did overplay his hand and it just wasn't necessary. But that's the thing with Bradley. Will he overplay his hand? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think it would hurt playing him in reserve grade to start
No.
the year.
Yeah, no, it won't. But I just hope he doesn't look at it as like, oh, I've been dropped, because
he can't. He wouldn't.
he can't.
He Fairnicum was on a development contract to start last year, and then he got upgraded. All of a sudden, upgraded top 30, and then was playing NRL, which was
unreal.
He hadn't even played that much in the World Cup, so fantastic.
That's crazy.
And at the end of the day, he's our longest signing hooker at the club at the moment. He's the hooker that's been re-signed, 2028, I believe. So he's got the most years in his contract left at the Raiders. So I think that's something that's up his sleeve, which is good. So yeah, that was a main talking point of the main talking points of the second trial. I mean, I'll let you talk about the second trial. Obviously, wasn't crash hot. 67 completion rate. You just can't expect to hold out in defence after turning over that much ball. It was clearly Ricky's decision to rest all his big guns. And we now know that Ethan Sanders is first in, best dressed for the halfback role, which I think is thoroughly well deserved. So he's gone with that younger halves as well, younger spine with a layering up from Masanga, which really showed. I mean, up against Trindle and Hines, who are one of the best creative ball players in the comp. It's very tough going, but I thought their defence held out well throughout the first half at least. But the hot conditions and errors, they were the downfall. Which is what it is. I think the few experienced falls we had, like Mariota, Hosking, were fine. They laid the platform, but a bit hard to do it with all the errors. So I can't fault them too much.
No, not really. You can see, Sharks played a full strength side. You can really tell the difference between a full strength NRL side and a full strength reserve grade side. So, you don't really expect much, especially when the Sharks play a full strength side. So, but no, we looked all right for the most part, but just have to hold on to the ball.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think Dane Laurie was probably close to man of the match in this
100%
as well. I think he played at fullback this time, and didn't miss a beat whatsoever. Like he's, under the high ball was fantastic. His work out of yardage was great. He's just got that experience under his belt where he's just more comfortable in these positions. Which is fantastic. I think Noah Martin's clearly trying to break into that 17 for sure. I thought he was good. He's just such a great line runner. He's such an aggressive player. We saw him playing in through the middle. Came off the bench a few times last year, but I think
solid.
I think he was real solid as well.
100%.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we know that Ricky's not huge on trials. I think it's more or less just a risk of players getting injured.
Middle finger to the trials he does.
Pretty much, yeah. And obviously news came out of this game about the shoulder sublux. of Matty Nicholson. So at this rate, it looks he might be touch and go for round one, but thinking he should be all right. I thought he was pretty quiet in both trials. I mean, not playing a lot of football the last, 8 months, 10 months, or 8 months, I suppose. Um, has an effect. Clearly he's bulked up a fair bit. But we've just got such a strong competition for spots in the second row.
Mm.
And it's the second row is a position where it's just hard to get involved if you don't get past the ball. So really good to watch the boys first hit out for the season. And yeah, sort of gives us a bit of an inkling, bit of an idea going to round one of
Yep.
the team selection and the ideas and how the side's been training, which is really good to see. So we're now going to have a look at reviewing the Raiders season for 2025, and then we're going to progress into a preview later on in the episode for 2026. So 2025, Raiders finished in first place with 19 wins and 5 losses. I mean, that's part of a fantastic home record, only losing one game during the regular season. Our top point scorer was Jamal Fogarty with 192 points, and top try scorer was Ethan Jones with 14 tries. Obviously, a fantastic year for the Raiders. Revolutionary, really. I think they really stepped a corner from 2024. I think the main progression was our attack, clearly. I mean, if you have a look at our 5'8", being our top try scorer really shows. I think, we've really been able to progress from that crash ball plays, which was absolutely, diabolical in 2024. And I think the growth of our younger players last year was a step in the right direction. And we just looked like such more of better attacking side, more of an exciting side to play. And, we were able to take advantage of the offload second phase play, which we're so good at, and do that, week in, week out, for 27 rounds.
Yeah. It was supposed to be our year. I'll tell you that. I was absolutely gutted. Great season. Look, one of the best seasons that I've witnessed. Regular seasons, that is. As a Canberra Raiders fan in my 21 years of living. But my goodness, yeah, how it ended was a bit of heartbreak, but we get into that later. Yeah, no, it was great. We're living on top of the mountain, and just like being a Raiders fan was pretty tough a couple of years back. Just scraping through wins, winning 1-12 always, and this season we really shut up the critics, I think, and was not expecting to finish on top. It's thought we were in a dream, but yeah, I thought we were absolutely fantastic, and I think that is the best football regular season we've played since the 90s,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, our first minor
80s.
premiership in 25 years.
Yeah,
Like, fantastic, right? And I think, one of the
yeah,
best things we did this well is just being able to consistently have, good line speed, good intensity, um, and opting for an agile forward pack. I don't know if you noticed, but the last few years would be going 3 props on the bench. 3 props. We go like Pasami Sola, Adam Mariota, and like I said,
Mooney's
Josh
stuff.
Papali, Trey Mooney, Emre Gula type thing, which is just too much of the same. You're not throwing any change of difference to your opposition. I think moving Hosking into a forward role was a great idea. Having Morgan Smithies play through the middle, obviously he plays as a lock forward, but using him differently was a very good idea. And one of the stories of the year for me is Josh Papali, being able to play the way he did, return to the Origin arena, was unbelievable. Like at the stage in his career he's at, to be able to do that,
Fantastic.
was unreal. Like,
Yeah, no, 100%.
yeah, and having someone else that Tarpany can lean on sometimes as a dominant forward through the middle was so advantageous. And then I think our bench did a really good job of keeping the momentum when they go off. I think we've got to talk about Joe Tarpany. Like, what's this? His fourth Meninga medal in a row. Like,
Yep.
that's unreal for a front rower. And this is somebody who's been a late bloomer in his career, and his last 4 or 5 years for the Raiders, have been some of the best football from a front row you'll ever see. Like, still highly, highly underrated as a prop, and he's still getting recognition, but his leadership he shows through his actions. He's just so good, eh?
Unreal. Yeah, no, 100%. Man, it's not even like about us becoming on top. It's just the amount of how we were in the grind against top sides and how we didn't lose the grind, how we usually do. Like we started and we finished really, really well. I feel like the only game that I could think of that I think we started but we didn't finish well was probably that Bulldogs game that we played at home where
Yeah,
we allowed them to come back
yeah.
20 points.
Mm.
But man, I tell you, I feel like some of the games from this season will forever be in my memory. Like that Panthers game. I know that Broncos game. Look, that Broncos game will forever burden in my mind,
Yeah.
right? But what a fantastic game of football it was. You know, although we lost, what a game. Panthers, one of the most bizarre endings to a game you'll ever see.
Oh,
You know, the Melbourne
couldn't hold
Storm
a screw.
Magic Round. It's just like it was literally written on a script and posted. I just couldn't believe that we not only got away with these miracle games, but we
Mhm.
showed our strengths to these critics who said, "Oh, they're going to be wooden spooners," or Raiders are never.
Yeah.
It's just the Raiders' DNA
Yeah.
to just shut these people up.
The,
It's so satisfying,
it's so satisfying, and like being from Canberra,
so satisfying.
outside the eye of the city media, we get no attention whatsoever. Going into it, they thought, "Oh, Jamal Fogarty, Ethan Strange, Kyle Weeks, Tom Sallant, what are they going to do this year? They're going to come last, surely." We freaking proved them wrong, honestly. Like,
Mm,
and being knocked out in straight sets hurts because the potential that they had, but it's not like we're expected to do good anyway. So,
no,
you know, and like you said, that Panthers game, like who were our two best players that game? Kyle Weeks and Ethan Strange. Two of
this
our
is
youngest
strange. Yeah.
players on the team in key positions. The emergence of them
Mhm.
this last year was outstanding. Like, and I'm so keen to see how Strange goes. After being part of that Ashes tour last year, like what he's learned
Yeah, 100%.
from more like rep players like Nathan Cleary, Mitch Moses, Tedesco. Well, not Tedesco, sorry. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Like, do you want to talk a little bit about Ethan Strange and like how he grew as the season went on?
I'll tell you what. I think he went from a exciting rookie to a standout NRL player pretty quickly.
Hmm.
I think I most definitely think he will be a New South Wales number 6 in the near future, and that is off 2 seasons, which is pretty
Yeah.
crazy to say. He seems to have matured into an NRL player really quickly
Hmm.
uh, after making his debut last year or a couple of years back. Uh, my goodness, man! Like I can't even put into words how good he was. I just for Ricky to believe in such a young 5'8" is not really like him, really, for us because
Mm.
he picks these older players that have NRL experience, but it's just really nice to see that Ethan Strange and how far he has come
Yeah.
in this team is just ridiculous. He's most likely will lead a New South Wales team in the near future and will lead the Canberra Raiders. Um, and I can't even put it into words. He's just a fantastic all-round player. His strength, his ability, his left foot step. He just
Mm.
tick tick tick. He's a
Oh,
fantastic 5'8" and will be for the next couple of years for the Raiders.
unbelievable. He just has a crack, doesn't he? Like he's just
Yeah,
plays so
he's
physical.
got that aura.
he's he's a Jack Whiten clone in a sense. Someone who started off in the centres is quite versatile, but he just even his defence, like he just doesn't let you down. He's a type of player you want to be playing with,
Mm.
honestly. And I think for a lot of that season, he was very much playing, second fiddle to Jamal Fogarty. And I think that those last, say, that last month, he really took it upon himself to get involved, and that's where we saw those games, against against the Panthers, against Manly, even in that Broncos game, where he basically said, "Look, I'm the dominant ball runner here." And I think this is going to test me onto this season where he doesn't have a dominant kicker.
Mm.
Dominant
Gonna really
who's
test me.
proven in an NRL, where he's going to have to take not take a bit of ownership in a sense, which is going to be interesting to watch. And I think he's definitely got it in him, like we've seen.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, his leadership's going to be really important this season. I think leading the team around.
yeah
Without Jamal Fogarty will probably be a little bit tough, but
yeah
no doubt. I think he can do it. Like he has shown he can do it in the past as well. That Roosters game where he partnered with Sanders in their first ever partnering.
yeah yeah.
I
Oh,
thought
exactly.
they were
He's got
both
the
fantastic leading
combinations.
the
Yeah
forward pack
yeah
around and leading the backs around. Yeah, I think the combination will 100% work. And these freaking critics saying, oh, let's put the Raiders down at 12th. They'll bow. They'll go straight out of the finals. They will not make it. Bro, I swear to God, if I see another post like that, I'm going to flip out. Like, I don't understand why we've lost one player whose game management, yes, was fantastic, but he couldn't clutch for us when
yeah
it mattered the most. And I think Sanders is the man
yeah.
that can do that.
This is what I
I
yeah
just it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how we are not anywhere going to be near the top 8. These critics are saying. I think it's beyond crazy. It's just anyway.
yeah.
Oh, don't even get me
I
started.
can't
We'll talk
fathom
about
it
that later.
either.
But
I can't fathom it either. Like you have a look at Jamal Fogarty, right? So last year they thought, oh, they're going to come last because nobody rated Fogarty. Okay, 2024, Fogarty had the best kicking game in the competition. No one
Mhm.
had better kicking game than him, right? Now, after this year, everyone rates him. Even though, as Raiders fans, we know that particularly his kicking game and his game management was nowhere near good in 2025 than it was in 2024. Now, I reckon Fogarty's ball playing, was far substantially better last year. But it's just so weird how the media catches onto something and just doesn't really have a good
Mhm.
idea of the Raiders at all.
No, I know, I
And
agree.
it's
Yeah,
annoying.
it's just
Yeah, it's
it's they've got to hate the Raiders. Surely they have a passion to hating Canberra. Like I get that we're a boring place, but seriously, right? We are a fantastic football team, and I can't believe again backing us to miss the finals after being leaders of the competition. Look, I in all honesty, I don't think we'll be as good as last year. Obviously, we won't be good as last year. I don't think we will see that in a very long time. But I don't think you see a team come first. Yes, we bowed out in straight sets, but it's all. I, I think we had what was it? What was our experience of finals of players? We had the
Twilight.
youngest spine to make finals in the top 8, right? So this obviously gives us more understanding of what the finals is like.
Mm,
You know, it gets some games under their belt for these young players. I think it's a strength. Look, I understand that we bowed out in straight sets, but it's as tough as it is. I think it will give us experience for this year.
mm. It will.
Anyway,
It's only better. Like I said, even though they're lost, um, it's hard fought, you know, losses which stick in players' heads for a long time.
yeah. Well, I mean that Sharks game doesn't really count, but anyway,
Yeah, yeah, that wasn't hard fought. That was shit, but that's okay.
that was just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these players, who are going to be getting that rep level experience even. So we had a look at Simi Sasang and Hudson Young. Both had standout years. Go on to play
Fantastic.
for their
Oh, Simi.
countries.
Mm.
Is great. I think Hudson Young's really moving and molding into a leadership player. Whether or not he's a future captain, we will see. But it's these qualities. I think Ricky Stewart's certainly growing among his players. Challenging Simi Sasangi. More so. I think he's nearly one of the stories of the year. Like how he's gone
Yeah.
about, and how
100%.
reliable he's been. Coming into play centre, being able to come off the bench, which I think he's suited to. Just creating that spark in through the middle on the edge. He was so freaking good, so
He was
freaking
awesome.
good,
Yeah.
and
Just covering all aspects of facts.
yeah, it's even going to be hard for him to make the side this year, just with the amount of depth we've got.
No. He'll be on the bench easily.
He should be.
Oh, no, he will be.
Yeah.
He will be.
Yeah, but I mean, just with how many good forwards.
Yeah,
we've
no, I
got,
get what you're saying.
Like he's not going to start. I don't think.
No.
Yeah, and then honestly, I think I don't know about you. I reckon at least my favorite player to watch last year has got to be hands down Kyle Weeks. Like how many big moments he had in games, whether it's match winning or just breakout plays from individual brilliance like that. There was no one better in the game, even in the Broncos game. Like he was
dynamic.
probably the second best fullback in the competition last year, second to Tedesco. And like this is a guy whose first 5 games last year, there were talks of him getting dropped, and then by the end of the year,
it's crazy.
he's
one of the best fullbacks in the comp.
Yeah, he's truly unbelievable. Just his spark and acceleration is something I think we've missed in the Raiders for a long time. We haven't had.
I agree.
Which is so good.
I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. I'm going to say my favorite player to watch last season was 100% Tom Starling.
Yeah.
I thought his defensive work improved out of sight. His line speed, running up to the line, getting the boys to come with him. Come with me. We'll race up off the line.
Yeah.
We'll put some pressure on everything. Yeah. I thought our defense structure was so much better. Oh, well, obviously, at the back end of the season, we'll get into that later. But I thought our defense structure in the middle was superb because of the back of Starling. As soon as he came on, as soon as he started the game, get up in their faces. That Regan Campbell-Gillard shot, that Tom Hazelton shot, bro is the littlest bloke on the field, and he's got so much energy and so much passion. Another player who wears his heart on his sleeve, man. Tom Starling has been in and out of the squad for multiple years now, and for him to just have faith in this club and go, you know what, I will get my time to shine. And it was last year. I thought he was fantastic to watch. I thought we looked so much better, so much more organized in the hooker role we've been in years. Yeah. And I think his combination with the big front rowers, Taps and Big Pups, were phenomenal. Like, I just thought he was really, really good, and really enjoyed watching him last season. I hope he can do it again because, bro, relating to him, 2 little blokes, love that guy. I love Tom Starling, and I think, he'll be exciting to see how he goes this season. And
it's about bloody time. Like, he's been fucked around.
100%
on
it
the
is.
bench for years. He's had guys in like Zach Wolford. He's had freaking Harv Veerley. He's had Dean Levi, all guys who, guess what, they aren't at the Raiders anymore. And look, I'm not saying Starling, like he was a standout in some of those years. Like, we know, and that's probably the bonus part of his game. He's such a great spark to have coming off the bench. That's his strength. But he's just been given affirmation and a little bit of confidence from Sticky that he says, "Hang on, this is your position. You're the starting 9. You're the starting 9, and I give you that to you." And he took it with open arms. Like, he was
100%
so good. Like you said, all the reasons you said: line speed, running out of attack.
He's just so quick as well.
Yeah, and his passion. Like, his passion is the main one.
I love his passion. I love his passion so much. We love passion. We love Raiders' passion, don't we, Dylan?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And look, he's the type of player that other teams hate. Him and Hudson Young, good mates. Really like getting into the opposition's faces, which I think was great. And there's no reason he shouldn't be our starting hooker this year.
Totally agree.
To be honest.
Yeah.
As far as the rookies go, our rookie of the year was Sav Tamale. Um,
Mhm.
He played the first about 12 rounds before going down with a long-term knee injury. Prior to
Yep.
that, he was honestly the informed winger of the competition. Like, what a breakout
If not
player
the
he
best.
was.
Yeah.
I'd done a few highlight videos of him when he was at the Dragons, so I knew his potential. He was a rugby prospect coming through the grades before he swapped over to the league. And like he looked like he'd been playing NRL for years. Like he was that good. The Brian Toto sort of mold, but
Mm.
so athletic, so strong.
That was true.
Elite tackle buster. Yeah, making line breaks at will. What a signing he was. What a signing, and
Yeah.
that is goes towards the Raiders' junior development again over the last few years. Like he was so great to watch.
Awesome. He was fantastic, wasn't he? Yeah. Can't go wrong with Sabali Tamale. Like I think Sav was yeah, fantastic, and I think he's only going to get better. Really, like he seems to have gotten bigger in the off season, and no doubt he's going to be stronger, harder to tackle this season. And I think I honestly think he could be Daily M Winger of the Year. I dead set think if the way he goes into 2026, how he went into 2025, and he plays the whole season, don't be surprised to see him up there.
Well,
Do not be
I can
surprised to see him up there.
trump that. I think he has any chance in the world, very good chance that he could end up in the blue squad. With
Whoa!
his
Wow!
game.
Whoa! Big
Blue,
call. Lomax gone. You know, I
blue
rate it. I
squad,
rate it. I rate
blue
it.
squad, and probably the Tongan team as well. Like, if you
Oh, yeah,
talk
it
about his
has
form last year,
to
like
play
you
for Tonga.
look, no Nwanga Wase player for Australia. I mean, he's going back to rugby anyway. But
Yeah,
like, he does freaky stuff, Marky Mark. But
he does.
he also does some not so freaky stuff,
Hey.
in defense, if you know what I mean. Um, so yeah, I'll back him tomorrow for another good year. I think second year going to
I'm with
first
you.
grade. It's going to be tough. And look, he's the type of player who you'll get errors in him because he tries stuff and
Yeah,
he'll have nearly more touches than anyone else on the field, and you can nearly warrant that in a sense. His
yeah.
defense was pretty good last year. I mean, being a wing is hard in a way. Um, but yeah, no, really, really keen to see what he's got to offer.
100%.
Before we go
Well,
into the improvements, if you'd like,
yep.
I'd like to touch on Jamal Fogarty and sort of his time at the Raiders. Positively, I'm being honest, like what he's provided for us the last,
Mm.
3 or 4 years he's been here, as a halfback. How he's been around the club, in the lead up to this year, I think.
Nah, Fog Dog is he's a legend, man. Real kind bloke. But for real, I thought Fogarty really did his job well for the Raiders. Like 3 years, Sticky gave him in the side, and I think those 3 years obviously tough. He started his career at the Raiders with an injury in the preseason, so he played half a year.
Yeah.
2024, he played half a year again because he got injured and tore his bicep.
Yeah.
And then this year has been his first full year with the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy to think. Like he's been with us for 3 years. He's only had one full uninterrupted year
That's what I mean.
with us. What could have been, really, when you think about it? What could have been?
I know.
But anyway, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
I thought Fogarty was really good. Probably his kicking game wasn't as good as 2024. I thought his kicking game was all right, but nothing compared to 2024.
Yeah.
The only thing I think that really let us down last year was probably his kicking game. Actually,
Yeah.
his clutch. Let me rewind.
Yeah.
His clutch ability.
Yeah.
I thought his clutch ability was pretty poor. And look, I was gutted to see him leave. I really didn't think he was going to go to Manly for 2026. But yeah, well, here we are. He's obviously he's a kind soul. He says, you know what, Stick, you've given me time here enough. you bred these young rookies, and I'll depart. But
Yeah.
man, I loved Fogarty. I loved everything about Fogarty. I thought Fogarty was awesome.
Mm.
Really did his job here in Green. Really sad to see him go, but I think it was the right decision for Stick to let him go, or for Raiders to let him go.
Look,
I think
yeah.
we let him go at the right time. I
Yeah.
reckon.
And look, he was going to leave one way or another. Like, I know the club
Yeah,
offered him a 1 year deal, but I understand for the security of his family and long term, it didn't work for him, which makes total sense. But Ethan
yeah,
Sanders, we'll talk about Sanders later, but Sanders is a bloke that we signed when Jack White was still at the club. You know, not
yeah,
knowing where Ethan Strange would end up, we marked Sanders as a long-term halfback. So it's unfortunate how things turned out, and how much you would have been, a fairy tale ending had we won the comp last year, and then sent him out to Manly. Good,
yeah.
but I don't care anyway because I hope round one we're going to be sending Hudson Young at him every chance that we have,
Non-stop. Look, and that's
because
yeah.
we all know that Fode's Achilles
He's
heel this
defense.
year was his defense. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic this year, last year. Sorry,
Mhm.
in all points of attack really, except for his bombs, which like he'd put up the odd torpedo, but not as consistently. Nowhere near as consistently kicking as he did the year before. Like we've said, he
No,
used to be able to pinpoint one 5 meters out from the opponent's goal line. He'd be able to turn a shit set into a great
decent.
defending position. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Like off a good kick, and like there were so many midfield bombs, like they went nowhere this year.
yeah,
Like not good enough, really, when it comes to finals. And we'll review the Broncos
no,
game in a second. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, bit disappointing the way it ended. But
yeah.
I think he had, from where he was at the Titans, not a consistent NRL first grader. To coming here, I think we've done a great job. I think he has been a pivotal part
Good
of
appreciate.
the team the last few
100%.
years. And it's sad to see
Completely
him go.
agree.
Sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Now, I hate to break it, but we've got to talk about the Broncos qualifying final, which is, you can say, where it went wrong in 2025. A period of not even 15 minutes, where the Broncos managed to come back into the game, and pull off a miracle victory. Like one of the most amazing games you'll ever see. And being there live, was even more incredible. Like, what was your like game day experience that day, Declan? Like, how were you feeling
Look,
going into it?
feeling going into it was real good. Confidence everywhere. Everyone had confidence that this was the game that to win that could see us go through to the grand final. Right, the winner of this would win the grand final. That's what we were all saying. We were so confident going to this game, and to think you've won the game three times, it was emotionally draining. Um, it's really hard to talk about. It's like I think dead set out of all the losses I've experienced, I think that one was the toughest to take. Um, although yes, we were first, and everyone was expecting us to do well in the finals. Oh man, just talking about it, it's just like yeah, it's pretty sad. But just little things really in our defense. I thought our attack was pretty good. Um, it, it's just once again the kicking game of Jamal Fogarty really was really disappointing in that finals game. Kicking it out on the last play when there was a minute and a half left probably wasn't the play to go. I thought maybe bomb it up in the air, have a try. We always seem to do that as well. It's always like last period of the game. We won't go for another 4-pointer. We'll just kick it out. We'll reset our defensive line. But that whole game, as soon as Reece Walsh and Hudson Young got sent off, our defense really went to shit. Really, it was just our signing defense was poor. They just absolutely threatened Jamal Fogarty's side as soon as Reece Walsh came back on. He was a different beast. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic player. One of the best players in the NRL at the moment, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Reminiscing about that game, it just really hurts my soul, and was really emotionally draining being there live watching the game. But that's the beauty of being a Raiders supporter. You think you've got it multiple times, but you're just not quite there.
Yeah, no, certainly was a heartbreaker. And let's not forget, I think we got the ball very earlier in the game. I think we received the ball, and there was that call where Starling played the ball, and it was ruled as an incorrect play of the ball. Broncos got the ball straight away. Katoni Staggs scored, which really riled up the Broncos fans from the get go. And that there were a lot of points scored in that first half, but I think the Raiders made a lot of errors that first half, and still managed to do very well to stay on top going into halftime. And yeah, I feel the two players I feel so bad for is Kyle Weeks and Nathan Strange, who had absolutely outstanding games.
Fantastic.
Weeks' two individual tries were amazing, and for them not to come out on top as victors is it's just devastating for them, honestly. It was so frustrating.
But no, being there was obviously very tough, wasn't it? It's just experiencing, I think I sat on the ground for a solid 20 minutes, just going, wow, that really sucks to celebrate 3 times and lose. Just at the end of the game, you just watch the ground and you're like, damn, what should have been ours? Yes, there were poor calls, but yeah, no, that was really hard to swallow. It was a really hard pill to swallow, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to have two players of the opposition get sin binned, having that advantage, and we scored 2 tries during that period. But the whole thing is they just stopped playing,
Yep.
and this is a habit they had throughout the
Yeah.
season, where they Raiders get up to a certain lead, with still a substantial amount of time left in the game, and they just be just too casual about it,
Mm.
and you can't expect to have those habits throughout the season and then get to finals and go, oh yeah, we'll be right, we can outscore them. Well, the Raiders haven't been that ruthless of a side, and their defense hasn't been their strong point, especially on the edges, in games, consistently. So yeah, that's just sort of how it went about, and there's a lot of ifs and buts. But yeah, it really came down to that right side defense in that period once Reece Walsh came back on. So now
Mhm.
on to our squad depth analysis for 2026. Ricky Stewart has gone ahead and opted for a fair bit of change with the younger players. So there's a lot more coming up through the grades. We've seen from Jersey Flegg now into New South Wales Cup, with the departure of a few experienced forwards. Generally, our forward pack remains the same, but depth-wise, the likes of your Jake Clydesdales, your Venapatuki cases will be moving up, which really shows how Ricky Stewart has opted for youth in the last few years, which I think is definitely a step in the right direction, which is highlighted by our success in the lower grades the last few years, for sure. And I mean, a part of looking at that is certainly looking at the loss of experience that we've gathered for this season. Trey Mooney's one of the big ones as well. Young forward coming through our ranks for years, but just could not crack our Raiders forward pack for quite a while. So I think it's only right to let him go, and good for his development and get some experience playing first grade week in, week out, where he belongs. I mean, I think that was the right decision to go. What do you think? Do you think that taking that consistent bench spot in the forward pack, do you think that was the right decision?
Yeah, I think it was. I think Adam Mariota was heaps more consistent throughout the whole 2026 season. I thought Mooney, yes, he was included in the New South Wales Cup side last season. He didn't really get much of a shot, but Mariota just seemed to be the perfect bench spot person moving forward for the Canberra Raiders. Unfortunate about Mooney. Yes, Mooney was fantastic in New South Wales Cup as a front rower, but you can't keep both of them, you know. But yeah, him going to the Newcastle Knights, it's a big loss for the Raiders because we thought that he would be the next front rower to take over from Josh Papali'i. But unfortunately, he's now gone to the Knights, which is a bit upsetting, really, because I thought he was going to be there for long term. But yeah, look, you can't keep all your best players. It'll be interesting to see how Mooney goes over there at the Knights. But we've got a very good young forward through Adam Mariota. It'll be exciting to see. So I think that we made the right decision keeping him there.
At the time of recording this podcast, he's nailed down a bench spot for Newcastle. So that's awesome. That's awesome to see. And like it just
Yeah,
shows how
100%.
good our development is at the time.
Yeah.
Fergie
Sami Saulo was another.
Yeah, Pasami Saulo, he's getting an opportunity over there. Another one of those big forwards we let go, and which I think was due.
Correct, yeah. Correct decision.
Bit of a shame for our depth, but I think better opportunity for him. Fogarty we've already talked about as a loss. Manaia Waitera, someone who was included in our top 30 going into this year. Certainly proved himself in New South Wales Cup and played a game last year, and would have certainly bolstered our outside back, and he can also play 5'8" depth, but we needed that depth certainly in the halfback role, so which is why Cody Black was able to take his position in the top 30, which I think was a smart idea by Ricky Stewart and the club to go down that way, which is a shame for Waitera. I thought he could have had a fair bit of competition amongst those spots, but that's just how it is. I think Adam Cook was another one going to the UK. He probably wasn't going to crack the NRL squad, regularly. So I think that was always going to happen. Al Hopewadi was another one looking for more opportunities going to the Super League. But all in all, our general 1 to 17 is made up of much of the same players as last year. Daniel Levi, something similar, wasn't getting a lot of minutes, so he's left, and it's just that sort of rotation where you bring in a few new guys, whether it's through your junior system or from elsewhere, and that's how the club's thriving at the moment. We should go into our squad depth for each position. Fullback's certainly an interesting one. We've got quite a few there. Would you like to go through it?
Yeah, of course. So, our depth chart for the Raiders positions. First, we start with fullback, as Dill said. Kyle Weeks, who is our main fullback, he's played a total of 54 NRL games. Dane Laurie, our new signing from the Penrith Panthers. He's been club hopping recently. Started at Panthers, went to Tigers, went back to Panthers, now to the Raiders. He's played a total of 75 NRL games. And young Chevy Stewart played a total of 4 NRL games, making his debut back in 2024, I believe it was. Ethan Alea is another one who is signed through a development contract. Well, when we get into this, we have got fantastic depth in the fullback chart. I think Dane Laurie I think he is one of these signings of the year. I know we won't see him play much, but particularly speaking in the Raiders sense, we needed a fullback that could come into the game if Kyle Weeks got injured, and he's perfect on our 6-man bench rule that we explained earlier in the video. I think this is a fantastic depth chart. I think Chevy, he's played a couple games. Yes, Ethan Alea, I no doubt will see him in the NRL in a couple years' time. I dead set think we've got the best depth in the competition. Yeah, I'm very excited to see. Obviously, fantastic Kyle Weeks. If he gets injured, Dane Laurie comes up. If Dane Laurie gets injured, Chevy Stewart comes up. Like it's just unreal how many player options we've got in the starting side at fullback. So yeah, what do you think, Big Dill, about this? I think we're looking pretty solid at fullback.
I think we're stacked in I think we're stacked in this certain position, and I mean, this is you're also excluding guys like Seb, Chris, Tamale, and Savage, who we know all can play fullback. And they'd probably be probably in the mix there. I'd probably have Seb, Chris, and Tamale and Savage near above a layer for our fullback depth if they had to play NRL, which is fantastic. I think it's such an important position. I think we've really, you kind of look back the last few years, we'd have guys like Charles Klukstar. He's very much a workhorse type player. Um, you know, Jack White was a bit of an experiment for a bit of time. And now you've got Kyle Weeks, who's really your excitement machine at the back. And I think the Rays have been able to utilise a fullback chiming into the back line, seen in last year's attack. I think we had a few good plays sweeping down our right side where your Kyle Weeks would tail in behind the back of Fogarty and just burn the left side defence of some teams, which is what Weeks brings to his game for sure. So I can't fault it, to be honest, at this rate. If Weeks can stay consistent, and then it's no dramas even there. Like Dane Laurie might be signed as a 5'8". Like I think that's where he'll probably play most in New South Wales Cup, if he's not on that 6-man bench. But I think the club's fairly comfortable in this role going forward. A lot of youth, but some exciting prospects in there for sure. Moving on to our winger depth for this year. First off, we have Xavier Savage, who has played 67 NRL games and looks to return from his injury early this year. Fingers crossed, round 1, you would assume. Sevilla Tamale is our other winger, who is again returning from injury. He played a couple of games back end of last year, but we saw the best of him those first 10 to 12 rounds where he was an absolute tackle-busting machine. Jed Stewart, you saw the light of NRL that back end of last year, which was great to see. Michael Asamoah, local junior. Sione Finau, a new signing from the St. George Illawarra Dragons. And Mark Tuali'i, one of our younger players who got some game time in our first 2 trials to start the season. I think overall we're pretty comfortable in this position. Quite a bit of inexperience, you could say, which is why we may get spotted out by the teams in defence, which is, I'd say, defensively more so than attack. Look, it is a hard thing being a winger. We have seen Xavier Savage being called out on a few occasions, but being a winger, you're basically doing what your centre's doing and what players doing inside of you. So if your centre jams, you jam, right? Unless you sort of race up way early. But I think Xavier Savage and Tamale are a good winger pairing to start the season, and offer a lot of that post contact ability to break tackles and represent what modern wingers do in today's game best. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, completely agree. Definitely with you. I think Sione Finau, my bad, is a very Stavalio Tamale lookalike, I believe. I think they're very, very similar in how they play, and I think that's really, really handy going into the season. Having another Tamale, I guess, sitting on our reserves. Would not be surprised to see him start over a couple of players this season. So, look, Savage obviously coming back from that injury. He's fantastic last season as well, but our depth once again is absolutely fantastic. Ricky has done a really, really good job at signing these players, so very excited to see what these players bring in the 2026 season.
Yep, okay, Naz. Next up are the centres. Would you like to go through this list for us?
Absolutely. I'd be keen to go over the centres for you. So basically, let's start here. Matthew Tomoko and Sebastian Chris are both our starting pair for the Raiders in the centres. Tomoko 111 NRL games, Sebastian Chris 109. Simi Sasangi is another one that's been thrown in there. He's played multiple games at centre throughout last season, especially I can't get. I'm just going to go back to this. Can't get over that one try where I think it was Ethan Strange put a little bit of a kick up Simi Sasungi came running through, took it in the air, and scored. That's how I knew he's definitely a perfect example of a utility player.
Yeah,
He
against
can
the
play anywhere in the
Knights.
back line. Fantastic. Against his old club, it was nothing more beautiful to watch. So anyway, we'll keep going. Simi Sasungi has 48 NRL games. He's closing in on 50, and he most likely will get there this season. Kane Anderson's another. He made his debut against the Dolphins for his one and only NRL game. He's on an NRL training contract at the moment. And Mark Tuilei is a new one who's popped up in the development contract. We saw a bit of what he can do against the Storm, really, in the first trial match. And once again, perfectly rounded centres. Any of these centres could play on the wing. Any of the wings could play in the centres. I think we're just perfectly rounded in the depth chart. We know that Sione Finau, can also pop into the centres. We know he's been training there. Along with Chevy Stewart, we've heard reports that he can play in the centres. And I got to say, it's fantastic to see how good our depth chart is once again. I can't believe how good we're looking at the moment.
Yeah. Good to see, I reckon. Looking at a guy like Matt Timoko, didn't start the year crash hot last year, particularly in defence, and you could partly blame Fogarty for that. But I think he does have some defensive issues of his own. We saw him play in the Pacific Champs last year at the back end, and I thought he was fantastic. I mean, he's an absolute, bulldog in attack. Like, and when given good ball, he's fantastic. So I hope he can really get back to his tackle breaking best this year. Ethan Strange will be most likely on his side this year. Or he definitely will be. So I hope he just gets more ball,
Yep.
and they can start to develop a good defensive combination out there. Same for Seb Chris. Same there if they're getting good ball. That's how our centers should roll out.
Yeah.
Looking at
I got to say one more thing before we go. Matt Tomoko, just going to say his last year, obviously, in his contract, he has a further option to play for 2 more seasons. But question is, do you see him re-signing with the Raiders? Because I think this season will really tell where he sits his place in the squad. I don't know how long. He has to do something more for me for him to get re-signed with the team. But moving forward, I just hope to see a real good Matt Tomoko season where he just tackle busting ability. His defense just needs to improve a little bit, and I think that will happen with Ethan Strange, I believe, next to him. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Tomoko? Stay, go. There's plenty of young centers coming through the ranks, so he's got a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, I think 100% he should. I think 100% he should stay. I mean, if he's our only outside back playing rep level, really. I think it'd be a little bit. Obviously, I think especially for this year, if you want to be playing, very consistent each week, then any position in our team needs to be under pressure. Any player. So
100%.
you can't be soft on him. If he's not defending up to scratch, then there needs to be talks between. But I'd still have him close to our number one center at the club. Like I like Seb Chris as well, but center's hard. Like a couple of years ago, Timoko wasn't getting any ball, and he'd be just trucking it up, tackle one.
Completely agree.
Fantastic with post contact meters, and I think it sort of varies in between different seasons with centers. I'd certainly look to re-sign him, but I think this year does he needs to prove himself this year, of course.
100% he does,
because he's playing for a contract. But exactly. I'd definitely look to keep him regardless, I reckon. And with that, we should move on to our halves. Ethan Strange, is there anything else to say about him? Fantastic last year, as we've already mentioned. Dane Laurie, new signing, very versatile. Jalen Afamasanga, one of our young guys, should play New South Wales Cup this year. And Nathan Lalea, he's a bit versatile as well. Obviously, you can chop and change between 5'8" halfback. So any of our depth in those roles sort of coincides. I think I'm very happy that we signed a guy like Dane Laurie, because if we had lost someone like Ethan Strange or Sanders earlier in the season because of injury or whatnot, I think we'd be under pressure big time, especially not having that leadership, experienced leader, in the halves. Yeah, would be a monumental loss. So I wouldn't say it's the strongest depth in regards to the halves overall. It's very youthful, but it's something the club's going to have to get used to, at least for this year.
Yeah, we look once again really solid in that department of 5'8". Obviously, Dane Laurie being the new signing coming in is another one that can just slot into that 5'8" role. We saw a bit of that work in the first trial match against the Storm. Kyle Weeks, we know he's played in the halves before, played there multiple times, so he can slot straight in there. Someone else going to a fullback if needed. So, Jalen Masanga, Dill, you covered a bit of a highlight video, I guess, analyzing his work and craft in that first trial, which was fantastic to see and really exciting. Another young, exciting player to watch out for the Canberra Raiders. So once again, depth chart is fantastic. Dane Laurie is so good to have there. He can play 5'8", he can play halfback, he can play in the centres, he can play in the wing, he can play in the fullback. He's just awesome to have there as an all-rounded, fantastic utility player. So I was so excited to see him play this season, as you can tell. But yeah, 5'8", once again, looking real solid. Ethan Alea, we know he can play there as well. But looks really good.
Yep, good. So moving on to the halfbacks, not too much change there. Ethan Sanders is the front runner, as Ricky Stewart has already stated. Kobe Black is a quick follow-up. We've signed him for the Broncos into the top 30, which I think was a very good addition at the end of the day. A lot of experts have already claimed that he should be the front runner, but based on Sanders' NRL experience and why we signed him in the first place, he's already done his apprenticeship in New South Wales Cup. He's already bided his time. He already has a year under his belt training with the Raiders, developing, combinations with Ethan Strange. He's already played in the juniors with Ethan Strange. He's played under 18s and the 19s with him. So I think that's just a huge advantage, just having that all together. And there's a lot of young guys in the mix as well. Kyle Weeks can play halfback if you really need to. So they'll certainly be tested. If an injury goes down, it's the same with 5'8". But so we'll do a breakdown next week of the best of Ethan Sanders' highlights in New South Wales Cup and analyse what he's good at. But I think he will really suit this Raiders side. I think last year he developed a great combination with Noah Martin on the left edge, as you might have seen. And, he's a good runner of the ball, which will be another asset he offers, especially over Fogarty, which I think will be a point of difference in attacking, just how square he plays to the line, drawing in defenders. I think that'll be a big watch going into this year for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. I think obviously we saw a little bit of a highlight, or a little bit of like peer into the future with Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders against the Roosters. Fantastic to watch. I'm really excited to see these two pair one another. Double Ethans. It's going to be fantastic to see live, and I cannot wait for this new halves pairing. I think they'll be fantastic, and they'll really support one another. Sanders really deserves the dig at the jersey. I think it'd be pretty heartbreaking to see him get replaced with Kobe Black first game. I think that'd be hard done by, and wouldn't have been the right move in my eyes. But Kobe Black, I cannot wait to see him get a first dig at the Raiders jersey in the future. But Sanders, I fully believe in him, and I fully trust that he will be 10 times better than Jamal Fogarty will be. Yes, his kicking game probably won't be to the level as Fogarty's was, but his direct playing and his eyes up football awareness is absolutely fantastic. And that I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, and look, Ethan Sanders, is the reason we got rid of Jamal Fogarty. As simple as that. Like we don't get rid of Jamal Fogarty if Ethan Sanders is at the club. Like that's the reason. We've
Yeah.
told Sanders, we go,
Yeah,
you're going to
exactly.
get an NRL spot this year. You work towards it. You work hard. And that's it at the end of the day. Like I think it's good having that competition there. Two young halves, and
Healthy.
Black's 2 years younger than Sanders. Black's played plenty of Queensland Cup, and I think he might have a better long kicking game than Sanders by the looks of it. But I think it'd be a lot better to have Kobe Black get used to the Raiders system first, rather than just throwing him in the deep end and just
100%.
hoping for the best. And I think hopefully it'll get the best out of Ethan Strange. He's going to be playing on the right side of the field, where he's naturally better or has played more in the juniors coming through. So fingers crossed it works out. But yeah, front row. As we know, Ricky Stewart loves a front rower. So why
Loves
don't you
front
go
row.
through this, Steph?
Oh, of course. So basically, our starting front rowers will most likely be between these three players. Firstly, we have Joseph Tarpany, our captain, our man who stands tall in the middle. Fantastic player. He has 236 NRL games. Josh Papali'i, another one. He broke the all-time record for the most games played for the Canberra Raiders with 329. And big Corey Horsburgh, big red, 112 NRL games. They've all been fantastic last season. Him shuffling between those three front rowers was superb last season from Sticky. On the bench, Adam Mariota, we know he's just been there for the whole of last season and been really, really solid since coming on. Total of 66 NRL games. Jake Clydesdale, he's been upgraded to the NRL top 30, along with Vena Pautuki Case. Samuel Hine and Jays Tuamala is another two players that are going to be awesome to have in the off season, especially through New South Wales Cup. It'll be interesting to see how they play and how they go. We look really, really solid, absolutely solid once again. So, yeah, no, we've once again just our front row pack. I was a bit nervous really when that first trial came around. I said, "Oh, we've really got no one here that's going to be awesome to have." Like Solo leaving, Mooney leaving. I was a bit worried about who's going to be our next Papa, who's going to be our next front row pack coming through the ranks. But look, they were really, really good, solid through the middle. Vana Patuki Case is a person to watch out for. I think he'll be fantastic along with Clydesdale. Once again, our depth is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think we're stacked in this role. I mean, like over the past few years, it'll be interesting to see how Ricky chooses to rotate these middles around. I think last year was quite clear he was using those more agile middles like Jack Hosking, who he can play. You can consider him as a prop. I wouldn't label him as a prop, but he plays.
Oh, absolutely.
And Morgan Smithies obviously can rotate in the middle. But I think as long as Corey Horsburgh can have the year that he did last year, with Joe Tarpon, you know what you're getting from him week in and week out. Papali'i will be an interesting one, whether he can, maintain his form, his consistent fitness throughout a whole another year. Is this his last year? Quite potentially. 329 NRL games is a bloody lot for a front rower. And then Adam Mariota, I think, was more so an impact man coming off the bench last year, which I really like. But I think he'll be under pressure for sure if Papali's leaving. He really needs to step up and go, well, if he's leaving, I need to be the next man up to be that dominant middle for the next, foreseeable future, really.
Well, and I think that's what we've been waiting for as well from Mariota. We've been waiting for that next step up that he hasn't quite taken yet.
Yeah, well, he had that fantastic semi-final against the Knights.
He was awesome,
and he was unreal. Like, took it on his own. That game. So, really keen to see how they go this year.
100%.
Going into our hooker roles. The big three: Tom Stelling, Owen Paddy, Jaden Bradley. we've already talking about them. Jane Bradley's our new signing. Owen Paddy burst onto the scene last year, and maintained that 14 role the whole year. Sean Packer on a development contract, and Malachi Smith. Those two will be rotating in New South Wales Cup by the look of it this year. And look, I'm very happy, to be honest. Like, we lost Danny Levi. Not the biggest fan of poor old Danny. But someone like Jane Bradley coming in, I think a steady head, whether he does play NRL or not. I think just having him, in the squad amongst the players, I think it's, a good value overall.
Yeah, no, absolutely solid. Once again, I think, look, love Danny Levi, but I think it was about time for him to take off and go over to the Super League. It was bound to happen. But yeah, Jaden Brayley, fantastic signing once again. If he can stay injury free, he's gone through a couple of injuries recently, ACL a couple of times, and what so. But yeah, completely agree with you, Dill. Like, really, really happy with our hookers again. Everyone's like, oh, why do the Raiders need 3 hookers? Because we got 2 on the bench. So, and plus, it's just awesome to have that extra hooker that can come on and play 80 minutes and absolutely dominate. And that's Jaden Brayley, I think. So, Paddy is awesome as well. But yeah, looking really good.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's only one injury away, and then one of these guys needs
Exactly
to step
right.
up, so can't hurt, honestly. Second rollers is another one. Hudson Young, we've already talked about him. We're one of our more successful back rollers the last few years as far as getting games, in State of Origin for Australia. It's great to see, because I think there's a few seasons there we couldn't find that consistently. He was always trying a little too hard. But I think last year was definitely his best year, just in regards to having, the whole well-rounded game. And then here, like we've said, he's going to hopefully develop into that leader role, in the next few years. Zach Hosking, I think, was one of the most valuable players of last year. I think he's just a player that you want on your team. Like, can play in the middle, can play on the edge, has a bit of skill in him. I think you've got to have him in the team, one way or another. And then a guy like May Nicholson coming in, next to him. What are your thoughts on our back row for this year?
Yeah, we look really solid once again. Matty Nicholson had that shoulder subluxation that you were talking about earlier, which was pretty unfortunate to see in the trial matches. But once again, Simi can play there. Noel Martin can play there. Joe Roddy is a smoky, as you were saying before as well, of playing there. So once again, our second row is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Hudson Young, 141 NRL games, closing on that 150. He'll be there for a very, very long time. And as you said, I reckon he will captain the Canberra Raiders in the near future. And Zach Hosking, second row, lock, front row, all round.
Yeah, I think this is probably our strongest. Well, this and probably front row are our strongest depth position wise in the squad. Just generally, like any of these guys in this list here, if they get called up on, I'd I'd trust them to have a fair crack.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
Yeah, to be honest. Moving on to lock, that's pretty similar-ish, just in regards to the middle. If you'd like to go through that, you can sort of chop and change in and amongst the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we talked about before, Corey Horsburgh played front row or lock. He's played lock multiple occasions for the Canberra Raiders. Morgan Smitty's another one. Morgan Smitty's, obviously, he's played lock in the first grade team. He's been the number 13 for a couple of years now for the Canberra Raiders. He scored his first ever NRL try against the Dragons, and all round solid defensive work he is. He's all about defense, and he really tightens us up throughout middle periods of the game, and he's absolutely awesome to watch. Zach Hosking, another one, he can just slot into the lock position. I think that's his best position on the field. I do not think he's a second rower. I think he's a lock forward or a front row, in my opinion. I think he's so much better at the lock or front row than being in the second row. He can use his ball work. He's just good at hitting the line, just getting momentum forward. Bibi Sasangi is another one that can just slot in the lock position, just all round. Awesome player to have on the bench. And Miles Martin, still yet to play his first NRL game. He's in our top 30, and I do not think we'll see him this season, unfortunately. But once again, all round, really, really good work in the lock position. I think it's superb what we've done, and looking really, really good.
And then to follow that up, our new signings in the top 30 include Sione Finau, Jaden Bradley, Dane Laurie, and Kobe Black.
All will more than likely start the year in New South Wales Cup. But I just think they're great players to have if needed and called upon, and really fill in a few spine positions that we'll really need for this year. And I think it's about time to go through our predicted round one lineups for this year. We'll also be including who fills our 6-man bench spots. Have you got your predicted lineup in front of you, Deck, to go through?
No, you go first. You go first.
So, fullback, I've got Kyle Weeks. My wingers are Savelio Tamale and Xavier Savage. Left centre, I have Seb Chris, and right centre is Matt Timoko. My 5'8" is Ethan Strange, and my halfback is the other Ethan Sanders, Colonel Sanders. Thank you very much. My front rowers are Corey Horsburgh and our skipper Joe Tarpany. My starting hooker is Tommy Starling. My second rowers are Hudson Young and Matty Nicholson. My 13 is Zach Hosking. My 14 is Owen Paddy. 15, Josh Papali'i, 16, Adam Mariota, and 17, Simi Sasangi. And which makes my 18th man, Dane Laurie, and 19th man, Morgan Smithies. So, a lot of...
that's the exact same.
Literally the exact same.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Literally the exact same.
Well, we're boring, aren't we? Far out.
I'll probably make a couple changes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but you could swap in a lot of these players, like interchange. Like, I don't think it'd make a huge difference overall. One question I got to ask you, like early in the season last year, we would have Papa coming off the bench. And Ricky made the decision to go, I want all my 3 best middles playing at the same time. Horsburgh, Tarpany, and Papali all starting. Did you notice the difference in between that or not? Like, what did you prefer?
I definitely prefer the first option that you said. I think him coming off the bench obviously offered us so much more in defense and attack. He's a leader. Like when Tarpany comes off, and Pups comes off when we played later down the track, we had no leadership out there.
Yeah.
I think we flip it. Tarps comes off, Papa comes on for Tarps.
Yeah.
It's just like switching a leader out for a leader. They both played so many NRL games. I think it just makes sense. But I also understand that Ricky's like, no, let's just have 2 of our best players starting.
Yeah.
Just nail into the defense, and then we'll bring our freshies on. Yeah. But I liked how he did it in the first start of the season. I thought it all worked perfectly. And then obviously a couple of weeks before his record-breaking game, he said, let's start Papa. So I look, it worked in both ways, but I think Horsburgh starting in that front row lineup is superb. I just think it just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's our strongest side, to be honest. I think we saw something very similar, might have been the Bulldogs game, at least that first half. Yeah, I think just having, like you were saying, having Hosking through the middle, he's able to get those quick play the balls a lot faster. And, he's got a bit of ball work in the middle as well, which I think is beneficial. Bringing Simi Sasangi on, I think, whether he's on the edge in the middle, I think he's just a point of difference, adds a bit of spark, and he's just, so versatile. And Adam Mariota as an impact man. It will be interesting to see how they balance out minutes. But you had Dane Laurie's 18th man as well.
I did.
How do you think teams are going to use this 6-man bench? Like, do you think they'll use just the general 1 to 17 players each week, or do you think they might? Obviously, injuries will force them to, but do you think they're going to, say for example they're down on points, are they going to bring in a guy like Dane Laurie later in the game, or just stick to the usual selection
Look, it's not a bad idea if you're like, if you need that extra spark and attack and you're like, oh, I don't know who to go for here. It's the perfect option to just go, you know what, let's put Dane Laurie on and see what he does. But I dead set think that the 6-man bench is just going to be used purely for concussion protocols or an injury happens. I dead set think that.
Totally.
Yes, you could probably put on a star player like Laurie in the last couple of minutes to try spark some attack and click something together. But I just don't see it happening, and I don't see Ricky using the 6-man bench regularly throughout the season because I just think he's got more trust in the 17. And yeah, look, I don't know. It's just Dane Laurie, yes, he's there, and Morgan Smitty's. You can probably use Morgan Smitty's more than he would use Dane Laurie, but Dane Laurie's just there for precaution in my idea, and that's what the 6-man bench is proposed to do.
Yeah, no, I pretty well agree too. If the situation arises, bringing him on is late in the game, fair enough. So yeah, we'll see how we go. I think it's a good addition. I think as far as like you said, injury wise, I think it's smart. It gives coaches less of a headache for sure. Now 2 questions for you, Declan. Players to watch. Who is your player to watch for 2026? And I know we've already named our round 1 teams who we think is going to get picked. Do you have any smokies for potentially making not making their debut, but cracking the first grade side,
cracking the squad
in round 1?
Absolutely, Dill. I think my player to watch this year definitely has to be Colonel Sanders, the KFC. I think, it's going to be fantastic to watch. Obviously, keep an eye on a new halves pairing is obviously the most common answer. But another one I think to keep an eye out for is it is Dane Laurie. I think he very well could be one of the smartest signings Ricky has purchased. I think he's going to be absolutely superb and will be awesome for our squad.
How many games do you see him playing this year?
If you had to guess, many.
If you had to guess how many
it all depends on injuries. I think he plays more than 10. No, more than 5. More than 5 games. I'm going more than 5 games he plays.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's not even about how he plays. I think it's just about having him as a player. It's just like if one of our injuries is we're just so safe in that back line. I think it's awesome to have him there.
Yeah.
What was your other question?
Any smokies for making the round 1 team?
Oh, Joe Roddy. It has to be Joe Roddy. I know you were saying it before. I probably stolen that off of you, but has to be Joe Roddy or Noah Martin. I think either one of those two. I really don't see Matty Nicholson starting in round 1. After his shoulder subluxation, I think Ricky will play it safe. He's had past injuries for the Canberra Raiders, and I actually don't see him getting picked in the squad to start round 1. That's just for round 1, though. He probably will come in round 2, round 3, round 4. But Joe Roddy or Noah Martin are my 2 smokies to watch out for. Of being picked in the squad, and I think they will break through this year as well, and really cement the spot on the bench.
Yeah, mine's the exact same, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think having someone like that in a mobile forward coming on, I think, Noah Martin can do a job on the edge, like we were saying. But yeah, I think one of those 2. I think it's dead set smoky for sure. We'll see sometime, at least whether it's round 1 or throughout the year. I'm really keen to see.
Yeah. What about Kobe Black? Do you think he'll get a start at all? You reckon he'll get a crack at all through any of the games this season, or no?
Yeah. Look, I think he should be our number 1 backup halfback. If I'm going to be honest.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah.
Dane Laurie's good, but he's more so Mr. Fix It. I'd nearly put Ethan Strange at halfback before Dane Laurie, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
So 100%. I think Black, I don't think he'll get much game time. Seeing that Ethan Sanders excels, he probably won't play many games, but I think he could very well make his debut. That's something.
100%. Well, it's really funny you say that. He just fixes everything, right? He's Mr. Fix It. You know what he reminds me of? You know that ad with Phil Swift where he's got the flex tape and he just slams it against like a broken spillage? It's exactly what Dane Laurie is. He's Mr. Fix It. You slam that tape on that team, he's just there. You know, I think he's he's going to be it's going to be really, really good signing for us, and can't wait to see what he brings in season 26.
Yeah, same. Yeah, super keen. And finally, what is your ladder prediction for the Raiders for 2026?
I actually do see us falling outside of the 4 this season. I think we'll be 5th. I think we'll have another solid season, though. I think we'll be on the 5th to 4th ratio, 5th to 4th on the ladder. But once again, just I don't. We can't replicate what last season was. I think fifth or 4th is probably reasonable for us to think this year. If we went back to back in minor premiership, bro, take me. I will come with that ride any day of the week. But no, I hope we finish first, but that's just a dream once again. But yeah, I see us winning the grand final this year, not going to lie.
Damn, straight out the gates.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, like you said,
we'll win our first final match.
Yeah, to replicate what happened last year, to be able to get into that mindset where, we're planning on winning as many games as possible to get to first place. I think it's a big ask to do that all over again with young halves. I think the same thing. I think 5th or 6th. I think it's realistic. Based looking at the other teams. How many games last year, which we won, would we not win this year? Like, it'll be interesting. I think that will improve from last year, though. I think our attack was the highlight. I think of last year's season. I think defense really should be what we work towards, because defense wins competitions at the end of the day. I think consistently,
100% it does.
Being able to, I think so many games we'd win like 38-22 or something, which to win a competition, and unless you're the Brisbane Broncos who can score tries for fun, you're not going to win a competition based on that stat, really, where you're just conceding a little too much. So I think we need to be cutting back on the amount of tries we concede per game. Overall.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think last year was a dream, and I think we're going to wake up to reality this year. I think we're going to be fantastic once again. But I hate these critics. Just everyone, I've already said this, but I'm really sick of seeing the critics just absolutely disembark and go, you know what? Raiders are fucking shit. But anyway, so
yeah,
I don't understand. I don't understand. No. Like, what have we done wrong the last season? Yes, we've lost Jamal Fogarty, but he's not that big of a loss. I know he's fantastic. He's helped us through the tough periods of the Canberra Raiders, but I think we've moved in the right direction getting rid of him. And I just don't understand. I know you can't make judgment until the season starts, but these critics have got it all wrong once again. You know what Ricky says? He says, "Fuck them."
And I think last year we turned the corner big time. Like we've watched the Raiders the last few years. Last year we were a different side. Like we're just watching them and how they play up against different teams. We're a different side. Like just generally. Now, based on the Raiders' track record, we can very rarely do we have 2 good years in a row.
Yeah, no, don't say that. Oh, how do you say that?
Getting first place. How can you drop outside the 8? Now, that might have happened. I don't know. Someone's going to pull something up and go, oh, yeah, this team in this year. Well, actually, this happened this year, but I think, like I said, it's a step in the right direction from last year, really. I think it's all about that. We were hunting other sides last year. This year, we become the hunted. Where we're expected to do well, other teams know that we're a good side. It's about stepping up each game and having that expectation behind us. Really.
Yeah. 100%. Drawing back to your team that came first and then fell out of the 8, the Melbourne Storm were the last to do that in 2000 and 2001. But moving on. Yes, I think another year I'm excited for. I think we're going to be absolutely awesome to watch live. I think most of those games last season will forever stay inside my head. But I'm really, really looking forward to another great year from the Canberra Raiders, and I can't wait to see what they produce. And especially who's going to be our best player throughout the season. Will it be someone new or will it be someone the same? I'm very excited to see who's going to stand tall in this season.
Yeah, will be interesting for sure. Look, I think on that note, I think we should wrap up our first episode for the year. Next week we'll release our preview for round 1. So we'll have a few more talking points to discuss around team selection and a few bits and bobs in the news. We'll have a few segments coming up. So please follow our Instagram page, which is at Bad and Mean Podcast. And we'll be having content coming out very soon. So thanks all for watching. That's Dylan and Declan, your hosts, and we'll catch you guys next week.